I was just browsing around on the internet yesterday. Actually, really wasn't browsing around. I was checking my email, and I went on the Yahoo front page because that's how I access it. And a story just kind of stopped me dead in my tracks. I mean, literally dead in my tracks to the point where I almost lost focus on why I was on the Yahoo site anyway. And it was a little story in the corner of the page, and it said six teenager exonerated from the 1989 jogger case. And I knew exactly what they were talking about. Now, all of us over here are very familiar with the Central Park Five. That is a story that literally is going to probably stand for the test of time for a multitude of unfortunate reasons. They even did a movie about it, with Ava DuVernay that was on Netflix called When They See Us, which was a phenomenal movie. But I'm going to be honest, that was a one-time watch for me because that movie was like a ball of emotions, especially that last part. That last part was hard to watch, but I had to watch it. Like I literally cried at that movie. And I think just about everybody who watched it probably cried too. But it turns out that it wasn't just five of them. There was a sixth person as well. And that's the guy you see right here on your screen, whose name is Steven Lopez. And as of this week, on July 25th, 2022, after 33 years, he has officially been exonerated from that incident, which means he hasn't been in jail, so to speak. He hasn't been in jail. He's been out of jail, because all of them went to jail for a period of time. It's just that the stain of this lie was on his record for all this time, and after 33 years it has finally been taken off. So technically he's now officially a free man. Can you imagine, even not being in prison or in jail, you're still shackled by society? You can look at the pain in this man's eyes. He looks spiritually broken. Like, this is a recent picture of him. This is a picture that was taken of him when he was in court, when they were about to tell him, or when they were in the process of telling him that he's been exonerated. This is a broken man. That's crazy. This man literally has been locked up while still being quote unquote on the outside for so long. And now he's finally free. I don't think people realize what that can actually do to a person. But I think the thing that shocked me was finding out there was a sixth teenager, because all this time we only knew of the core five. But now I'm gonna go ahead and read this article coming from NPR, and it was posted on July 26, 2022. A co-defendant of the so-called Central Park Five, and I'm glad they called it so-called, whose convictions in a notorious 1989 violation of a jogger were thrown out more than a decade later, had his conviction on a related charge overturned Monday. Steven Lopez was exonerated in response to requests by both Lopez's attorney and prosecutors at a court hearing in Manhattan. Lopez was 15 when he was arrested along with five other Black and Latino teenagers in the violation and assault of Trisha Melly, but reached a deal with prosecutors to plead guilty to the lesser charge that he and several others mugged a male jogger on the same night. District Attorney Alvin Bragg told a judge Monday that a review of the case found that Lopez had pled guilty involuntarily in the face of false statements and under immense external pressure. He served more than 3 years behind bars before being released in the early 1990s. Now get this. What they just said right there about him being under pressure to plead guilty and all of those things like that, that's the same thing that happened to those five boys because of that what was her name? I forgot her name. That white chick that just simply just had to find a way to get these boys because she just wasn't about to let it go, even though she knew it was a lie, wrote books and everything. Black people was on her head after that movie came out, and rightfully so. And I think they stopped publishing her books after that movie came out because people put like a lot of pressure on her. and a lot of pressure on the publishing companies who pushed her books, and they ended up taking her books off the shelf, and you can no longer buy it, at least not in a bookstore anyway. You may not even be able to buy it online, and rightfully so. Take her finances away, because she knew it was a lie, but she kept going with it. And what they did was illegal, because they were illegally asking these boys questions. They didn't have any type of representation there. They had no adults. Their parents weren't even notified. A lot of their parents didn't even know they had been arrested until after, they probably saw on the news of something. Like, they did them boys dirty back then. District Attorney Alvin Bragg told a judge Monday that a review of the case found that Lopez pled guilty voluntarily. Oh, I'm sorry, I already read that part. Lopez, now 48, didn't give a statement in court and left without speaking to reporters. Mr. Lopez is looking for privacy at this time, said his lawyer Eric Shapiro Renfro. During the hearing, the defense attorney told his client, "I believe what happened to you was a profound injustice and an American tragedy. I'm so happy to be here today with DA Bragg so we can give you your name back." The brutal assault on Melly, a 28-year-old white investment banker who was in a coma for 12 days after the attack, was considered emblematic of New York City's lawlessness in an era when the city recorded 2,000 murders a year. Her assault happened on the night when several other people had been attacked in the park by groups of youths. 5 teenagers were convicted in the attack of Melly and served 6 to 13 years in prison. Their convictions were thrown out in 2002 after evidence linked a convicted serial violator and murderer, Matthias Reyes, to the attack. Reyes told investigators he alone had been responsible for Melly's assault. Prosecutors who reviewed the case had concluded the teenagers' confessions made hours after interrogations were deeply flawed. A comparison of the statement reveals troubling discrepancies, they wrote in court papers at the time. The accounts given by the 5 defendants differed from one another on the specific details of virtually every major aspect of the crime. Prosecutors said on Monday that statements implicating Lopez in violence that night were unreliable. Other individuals who linked Lopez to the attacks on the male and female joggers later recanted their allegations in their civil depositions. The prosecutors wrote in court papers. The male jogger never identified Lopez as one of the assailants, the paper added. The Central Park Five, now sometimes known as the Exonerated Five, went on to win a $40 million settlement from the city and inspire books, movies, and television shows. And to this day, I believe that is one of the biggest settlements that the city or state of New York has ever given out. $40 million. Like, they ran them pockets when they made that settlement. Lopez has not received the settlement, and his case has been nearly forgotten in the years since he pled guilty to robbery in 1991 to avoid the more serious violation charge. Now listen to that. He had to plead guilty to a lesser charge just to avoid getting convicted of a charge in which he did in a crime he did not commit. Do you see? Like I said, they did these boys dirty. And like I said, they knew what they were doing because these were teenagers who they knew did not know the law. They could not pull that on someone who was older than them and who knew how the law worked. Like I said, if you've never watched the movie When They See Us, go back and look at how they treated them when they were in the interrogation room and all kinds of stuff. They did a lot of dirty, underhanded things just to lock up 6 teenagers at that time. Just a bunch of dirty, underhanded things. And quiet as it's kept, they still do those kind of things to this day. But it was a lot easier back then because, back then you didn't have all the extra technology like we do today. So it was way more simple. Nowadays, it's a little bit more technical, but it doesn't mean it can't be accomplished. The Associated Press does not usually identify victims of sexual assault, but Melly went public in 2003 and published a book titled I Am the Central Park Jogger. Man, this is a strong man right here. He's 48 years old and he just got exonerated after having this hover over his head since the early 90s. And I noticed it said in the article that when he walked out of there, he didn't say anyone. He didn't address the court. He didn't talk to reporters, none of that. He just wanted to get up out of there. So I can really empathize on that aspect, because imagine you're going through all of this. What is there left to say? What is there to say? Just get me out of here. This nightmare, I want to put it behind. I would be like, I want to put it behind me. I just want to go home, and I just want to close my door and lock it and just be to myself for a while. Because can you imagine the back and forth this man had to do between courtroom, jail, courtroom, home? I can't even imagine how many hours he spent in a courtroom. He probably spent more time in a courtroom than not, just trying to get this thing cleared. I can't even imagine how many years it took him to get to this point. But like I said, it looks like there was a sixth one. It's just that we never knew his story. Maybe one day in the future, when he's ready to talk about his story, and now that this is out here, people are going to be banging down his door to try to get a story out of him. But it's going to be ultimately up to him when he's ready to tell that side of his story, because that's going to be very interesting to hear. Like I said, we never knew there was a sixth person. We only knew of the five. But that's crazy. That is wild. But I'm glad that he got exonerated. They said that they haven't mentioned if there's going to be a settlement or not. There should be. The other five got a settlement. He should get one too. They probably going to debate on how much he should get. He should get as much as, honestly, if they ask him how much do you want, I would be throwing out some wild number. And I would expect to get all of it too. No taxes attached. I mean, why not? You took all the years from me. Like, I literally had to go back and forth between the courtroom and wherever, while money is not going to give me back the time that I lost. It's a little cushion. But that's crazy. That's some wild stuff right there. But this is the ongoing nightmare for black people, or black men, black males in this establishment. But with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and end the video. Make sure y'all go ahead and like, comment, and share this content on your various social media platforms. Have your notifications set to all and turned on, and I'll talk to you in the next one.